Okay, YouTubers, it's time to put the valve body on the Turbo 400. The problem is when you follow the recommendations on the Crankshaft Coalition build, they say several times, they emphasize, if you're running a 34 element sprag, don't run a check ball in the 1-2. With following the B&M recommendations or just doing the bare minimum and running the 2 check balls. Okay guys, I'm gonna go ahead and follow the Crankshaft Coalition recommendation and delete the 1-2 shift ball. Here on this corner there's a C punched into this gasket. That's your case gasket. When you see that, you have to put this down first. Make sure you're pushing your case gasket. Let's see if we get this thing on here. Okay guys, I set my separator plate in position, added my third alignment dowel. My 1-2 shift, I have drilled to 125 thousandths. And my third gear hole, I went to 140 thousandths. Go ahead and start the bolts for this. Now keep in mind, this is the sealed kickdown solenoid, so it requires you to run a gasket underneath it. I plugged the, see if I can set this down without hurting anything. This is part of the modification for your manual control over your 1-2 shift and the Turbo 400. The Turbo 400 comes with a 1-2 shift override as a safety feature. You seal this hole, and then inside of here you've got on the end of your little shuttle or your valve as part of your 1-2 shift, you change the size of the end of it or you grind flats on it to allow you to hold first gear. Move the spring for this accumulator and plug this orifice with a 5/16 set screw. So those modifications have been done as well. So let's just see if an old man can get this thing to set down on here without hurting anything. All right, we got plenty of guidelines here. See if we can get this thing started. Let's get our manual shift valve forward. Now these little transfer tubes, the one on the driver's side where it enters the case, there is a small filter that goes down inside the case. Okay guys, let me start torquing these bolts and we'll go from there. We put on our double O-rings for the extension for the filter. So this morning I had the pleasure of removing my pump that I had already installed just so I could insert that little nail into the hole to hold the shifter rod. Don't forget to put that nail in and make 100% sure that this little intermediate piston is 100% pushed down into that bore. Alright guys, we're buttoning up the Turbo 400. I was just sitting over here cleaning out the pan and installing a drain plug. I went ahead and used the pan off the Pontiac, even though it's got some pretty serious dents in a couple of places. It was in a lot better condition internally than the 69 Chevy pan. No, I had no intentions on painting the outside. I just cleaned it because, you know, it's underneath the car. It's not like anybody's ever going to see it. But that is the drain I bought, I think at Advanced Auto Parts. It was like $4 or $5. Basically, you just drill a 1/2-inch hole in the bottom of the pan, and from what I found on looking online, researching it, like right about the tip of the bottom of Texas if you look at this pan, is where everybody has those drains. I wish it was a flush mount drain, because if you see, it can only drain down to the thickness of the top of that nut. I'd rather have welded something to the bottom of the pan so that it could drain all the way to the bottom, instead of having that little stand. But at this point, I just want to get this stupid thing together and get it on the car. So there is my Turbo 400 pan with drain, and we're about to set it on the rebuilt transmission. All right, see what we got here. Got my fiber gasket, the preferred pan gasket. I have significantly cleaned this pan inside and out. Now, the pan on the Turbo 400 has 13 bolts. Naturally, you'll have 11, and then you'll have 2 that generally are longer, that you have to do your shifter, when you mount your shifter cable and all that. So basically, I'm going to put this on, probably run these down. I'm going to have to end up buying a speed wrench one of these days, because I don't want to always use that little impact driver, even though it does work really well. I really just don't like running the chance of over tightening something like this pan. That the last person who had this pan off of here had used a ton of blue RTV silicone, and that was a chore to get off. But I was always told, raised, advised that you don't use RTV on transmission pans, because it's too easy for that stuff to end up getting picked up in the pickup screen, and that's bad. So let me throw a couple of these bolts in here, and then we can snug them down. There's the Turbo 400 in all of its glory, with the pan installed with the fiber gasket. All the pan bolts were torqued to 120 inch-pound, and those are the winter shifter linkage brackets. And that's pretty much how it's going to be until I'm ready to put it in the vehicle. I appreciate you guys watching these videos. Hopefully you guys can learn something and maybe help me learn, and everybody share information and try to help each other. I appreciate you guys. Keep watching. Like, subscribe, hit the little bell, and go check out the channel and see if you can find something else you're interested in.